RBI double.
Look for that significant downward plane from the big lefty here. Second strike just like that. This is the situation when you want to be in when you check in.
That's only Garbaugh's 5th appearance on the year. You see he has that big over-the-top release, and especially at 6'5", you know, with the long arms.
He has that pro frame for sure. It's just a matter of if he can get everything together. Of course, he got up to such a hot start his freshman year at Northwestern. You know, it's never too late. Continue to just keep grinding at it. It's that 2024 season at Stanford with an injury. This pitch going into the grass. Or pardon me, into the dirt, I should say, to make it a 2-2 count. Here's the 2-2. Swung on and fouled back. Stay put. We came out to Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, good music taste for these Stanford Cardinal players.
Going to more situation.
Like, you know, when Cassius Thomas came out, he had a nice little oldies vibe.
Another ball fouled back. This one might even hit our roof. No, it's gonna bounce into the crowd and come on, man. You gotta make that grab. If it hits your hands, you gotta make the catch. Continue to keep this at-bat alive here. Yeah, I think we'll probably go somewhere in the 80s if it was coming out here to bat. 2-2 off the plate, bringing up a full count. You know what? I'm gonna take inspiration. Grew up an A's fan. Obviously, with everything going on, I don't want to touch that subject in full, but Josh Reddick used to walk out to Careless Whisper, and that is my karaoke song, so maybe it'll be my walkout song as well. Yeah. Here's 3-2. This one will be put into the field of play. Sasaki comes back, and it's Nadai coming back to make the grab, so good confidence shown there by Nadai, who's had a rough outing in this game so far, but has the confidence to make the call and get right back into rhythm here.
Yeah, he just needs a little bit more, a few more plays to go his way. You know, trying to turn things around in the field, but you know, you can make up for the mistakes that have been on hand at the plate, and you know, all is forgiven.
So after the first batter he faces, one out here for Sam Garbaugh, and that'll be the catcher and Joey Barron. An opportunity to change things. This ball gets past Nada. Get to right field, Kettleson will hold things up, so it is a base hit at the first ball seen.
And Joey Barron able to break out of the offer there with the hard hit ball past Nadai.
Ground out, strikeout looking, and then fly out in the fourth. Now finally able to get on base. That brings up the catcher who had that triple at his last at bat in the top of the fifth. Secreta.
Led off the inning with that triple as well.
Secreta shuffles his feet here on the first pitch. No. These situations, though, like talking about so many times with all the left-handed pitchers we've been seeing, you have a good angle at first base. This one low and over the plate to make it a 2-0 count. One out runner on first. I think I'm with you, Philip, in terms of music, though. I think I'll change things up. You got to take a feel of everything in the lineup to understand, like, where you need to suit yourself in, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Third straight ball.
I think it also comes down to like a player archetype. I usually see like the big players, they want to come out with something aggressive, and then you got the medium-sized players coming out with something, you know, a little more softer, but still, you know, like, I guess I'm the kind of guy that wants to put fear in the pitcher if I'm a hitter. I gotta come out with something like, you know, hard and heavy.
Yeah. The one thing I always appreciate is I feel like in every lineup you always get that like rock and roll guy. Maybe if you want something heavy, some Hell's Bells ringing.
Sure, for sure. You know, a little AC/DC wouldn't hurt.
touching my Raiders. Here's the 3-1 over the plate, and it's called a strike. Man, that downward plane pressure from the lefty fully on display there.
Full count situation here for Garwald. Big pitch needed to get Pisacreta out.
Well, the senior looking to turn his tides off. Down here up to this point. This down ball is down and low out of the box, so Barron is going to get to second on the walk. Another productive at-bat there from Pisacreta.
We'll say these Pitt hitters, they've been able to find ways to really force the hand of these Stanford pitchers today. Now make it 4 walks given up. So, you know, even though it's still a small sample size, but, you know, it's come in situations where it's really, you know, helped benefit Pitt.
First pitch, a little bit of a heart flutter in that situation, but Lavin able to block things out to avoid anything from happening. The patience has been on display for every single Panther there. It feels like all these at-bats have been extended, and when it is quick, they do make some great contact on the ball and allow themselves an opportunity to make something happen. Here's a strike. So 1 out. Here's on first and second. Here's the 1-1, and oh, just having a duck down Lavin coming out. Runners will advance here on a wild pitch. And I understand the situation here for Deerdorf. Yes, you want to take one for the team sometimes when a pitch is coming your way, but that was going straight for his head, able to duck down and just kind of let things advance and give himself another life. You do not want to take any hits off the dome piece, huh?
Yeah, luckily, you know, it wasn't thrown very hard, but yeah, you know, in a game like that, like this, you don't want to let pitches go away.
And that is a really good job getting right back into the action. Sometimes a little wild pitch will start to get to your head, but the senior able to steady the ship right away to make it 2-2 now. So runners on second and third, 1 out. Here's the 2-2, swing and a miss. A big strikeout in that situation. Got the man hit an air.
Good on Garwald to fight back there against Carter Deerdorf. You know, not letting that wild pitch get to his head, but, you know, you now come into a spot where you need to get these outs at the bottom of the order and not let the top of the order have a chance at the plate here.
0 for 3 on the day here for Irizarry. Do not swing on the first pitch as it is a strike. So Irizarry has done a really good job defensively, but I'll see if he can carry that over that in his hands. For the advantage for Pitt here in the top of the 6th. Swing and a miss once more. Feels like the confidence of Garwald growing after that wild pitch.
And using the fastball to his advantage, near the back at 9 miles per hour, able to pump it past Irizarry, who wasn't able to catch up.
The 0-2, lifted into left field. And that fly ball will be grabbed. So, a little moment where you felt unsteady, but the steady hands of Sam Garwell able to guide you through the top of the 10th. Stanford holds Pitt off, but Pitt still leads 8-4 going to the bottom of the 6th. Due up for the Cardinal, it's J.J. Morin, Jimmy Nat-I, and Eric Gion. Eddie Spick will continue at the plate, or at the mound, I should say. Pitched an inning and a third so far, 4 batters faced, 16 pitches, and has gotten those outs. This is one of his longer outings here, out on the West Coast. And Philip, we were talking about Pitt a moment ago during our break, and you were saying, you know, some Pitt history as well. You're not just a Stanford historian.
Yeah, well, for Pitt, they're one of the oldest college baseball programs in the nation. They fielded their first team in 1869, and this is way in the Stone Ages of baseball. And like my mom, she always says a joke when we're talking about somebody old. Just say like, "Oh yeah, I know Jim or Joe. Like, he's as old as baseball." But and also this being the first time ever that Pitt and Stanford have played against each other in baseball. Stanford fielding their first team in 1892. It's kind of interesting to see, just the history that has been accustomed for the Panthers.
Yeah, rich history on both sides. Indeed, and now with all the mania of what's going on in the world of NIL and realignment, opportunity to see some of these classic programs wearing those contrast colors. Let it go at it. And we've seen a great, or entertaining, I should say, first series between these two.
Oh yeah, it's definitely been a dandy for sure. Of course, for being an ACC now, expect to see, more of the future battles against Pitt to be like this.
I wonder if it's the matchup or if it's just something going on in the air in the United States right now, because we've seen from coast to coast all those crazy scores. AJ Miller. Here's the 2-1. Holds up and is over the plate to make it 2-2. So Moran, and Gion, an opportunity here. Someone with that home run in the first. How does he still have some of that magic with him? They pin up his fourth home run of the year. Contact made! Gets past the shortstop. And this will give him the opportunity to get on base with a leadoff single.
And second hit of the game opens up the door for Jimmy Nadeye. And you're speaking of first, Max, one of the things about Pitt's history is that their first ever player to ever make it to the major leagues was Dick Holblitzel. And I talked a little bit this about on Friday, but for those that didn't tune in on Friday, I'll give you the story about why this player in particular is so significant to the Pitt program. So with him being the first player from the university to make it to the major leagues in 1908 during the dead ball era, he went on to have an 11-season year in Major League Baseball as a first baseman with the Cincinnati Reds and the Boston Red Sox. But during his time with the Red Sox, there's this one particular part of history that he probably didn't get a lot of recognition for, just knowing what time at the game of baseball it was.
Nadeye sends this one into center left field. And the day out there in left field continues for Julian Iranzari, man. I feel like he's had so many outs in this matchup.
Yeah, it's definitely staying active, keeping the feet moving. But for Dick Holblitzel, during his time in Boston with the Red Sox, he was a part of back-to-back World Series championship teams in 1950 and 1960. But here's one thing that people may not know. During his time with the Red Sox, he was teammates with the one and only Babe Ruth.
Oh, wow.
And not just that, whenever the Red Sox went on the road, he actually had to stay in the same room as Babe Ruth in the hotel. And not that anybody knew at the time, because this was still very early in Babe Ruth's career. He didn't really become the influential athlete that he later became until he was on the New York Yankees. But during his time in Boston with the Red Sox,
this one hit deep in the left field, retracting, and right before the warning track, another out there for Julian Iranzari. So 2 outs in the relatively same spot. Luke Lavin an opportunity to come out here. And with a runner on first, Lavin really needs to breathe some life into this Cardinal team.
We're one at the play of a double and a walk. Yeah, but you have the significance of the Pitt baseball program, maybe not having so much success on the winning side, but so many historical facts that you kind of find out about the program just knowing that they've been around for a really long time. But yeah, with Dick Holblitzel, quite a flex to say that you were not only teammates but roommates with Babe Ruth. Interesting, and Babe Ruth, of course, in his younger years, a very, I'll say, like high energy kind of guy.
And a high energy ball will drop into play, so staying alive is Lavin as he gets the single and advances his man to third. So Morin gets to third, Lavin out here on first base, so with 2 outs, runners on the corners. It's Stanford trailing by 4, showing a little bit of life here as Ethan Hott has another shot at it.
Talk about being amongst history. I feel like, well, even though Dick Colbitzel is now long gone, but I feel like he would have been the perfect person to write a book talking about the stories that he possibly could have shared being Babe Ruth's roommate and teammate all those years. Probably call it My Time Babysitting the Babe.
2 outs, the first pitch just barely digging inside of that bottom outside corner. Now, Hot after a very successful start to the day. Behind the 0-1 count. Second pitch. Same general spot, but drifting a little too far outside. 1-1.
Ethan Hott 2 for 2 on the game with that 2-run home run in the second and the double in the fourth. Another big spot here.
It's 400 with runners on. This one will get past the shortstop. One comes home, rounding out, and the holdup actually Luke Lavin at second. So a single here for Hott as he is 3 for 3. And that one's going to be an RBI single with 2 outs to keep Stanford's within reach here.
As another solid at bat there by Ethan Hott, getting the start today, and he has been doing David Esker a service, going 3 for 3 now at the dish and driving in his 3rd RBI of the game.
So Eddie Smink started out pretty hot in his own regard, but now has given up quite a few hits in this bottom of the 6th. He'll take a breather here as he shakes out the arm, and Stanford and feeling like they're right back into things. This whole entire series has been so back and forth. You saw it yesterday with Stanford trailing, going back up, and then eventually late, Pitt was able to come back and get some scoring in the 8th and the 9th to get the victory. In the situation here, you can be down, but you're never out. Brock Kettleson, I can tell you, he's going to come up, and I anticipate a more patient approach.
Yeah, patience. Hopefully that was jammed into his head when he flew out to left field in that his last at bat. Knowing there was a big spot, you had 2 men on with a chance to tie the game up.
Very similar situation here. Runners on first and second. Time run at bat. Lavin. Here's the 0-1. Sinker too far down into the dirt. 1-1 count. Huge situations here for some young players. Kettleson having that home run under his belt. Get another in this situation, I can tell you, he'll get the praise of his team. Off the side of the bat, this one goes over the second baseman. And no opportunity there. So ground out on that attempt. Pitt is going to set up Nestler, Doolin, and Carrier. Due up here in the top of the 7th.
We're on the top of the 7th, 8-5, Pitt's the lead. Stanford able to get a run back, but they're going to bring out Mike Earthspammer, trying to keep this a 3-run ball game. This guy from San Clemente, California, SoCal kid. We talk about music all day, Max. He came out to a little bit of surf rock there.
Love to hear that reverb on the guitar, and hopefully that surf rock can bring the energy back to the defense and keep them tightened up, man. 3 errors for Stanford's defense. With them coming up after having a tough outing in that first matchup against Pitt. turn the page.
As there's Farmer's first pitch into A.J. Nestler, and for a strike. And Pitt trying to get the series win in their first series in ACC play on the season. They're about a third of the way of doing so. Again, this game has seen, this series has seen some late inning heroics on display. So Stanford aren't down out yet.
Now we were talking about the ninth inning identity of Pitt a moment ago, but Stanford got themselves in the situation to force that as well. So you got to factor that in.
Puts it across for strike 2 at 91. And I will say Stanford have played in some tight ball games for the majority of this season, but in the ACC play, that was a little bit more challenging. Now it's bounced foul, just barely, on the first baseline.
A little bit of laugh and a wry smile on the face of Rentaro there as he makes the grab and he looks back like, hey, dig it! No, well.
No, I had to play there again, showing good awareness, footwork. We're at first base. He's playing close to that line against a left-handed hitter.
And the defense was the thing that everybody was always talking about Rentaro. We know how he swings the bat, but just getting the full game together.
Nestler able to flare it out the center field, will stay up high enough for Hot. He'll make the catch, one gone.
It's always fun to be in this situation when you get the glare of the sunglasses from some of these outfielders. It doesn't happen on his face. He's staring directly into the sun and still able to make that grab.
He had to squint his eyes a little bit as the sun has just been beaming here at Sunken Diamond today. And I give a lot of credit to the people sitting on the berm. Just exposed sunlight all over there on both sides here in the grandstands.
No wind whatsoever either. We got a little bit of a breeze for a quarter of a second. It's just been a very still day, no clouds in the sky, just sunshine and baseball.
And as for anything else on Sunday, I will say. Oh, 0-2 now for Caden Doolin. Missed outside.
Yeah, but those are the shots where you can take those outside opportunities. It's an 0-2 count, you got an out already. As long as it's not a wild pitch, you feel pretty cool.
Going 2 for 3 on the game. There's a rocket out in the left center field, but Hot able to trace back for it.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. The pace of this game has been super interesting. It's either been dragging out, coming out in full counts, or a couple pitches, fly out, ground them out, and keep it moving. Ebbs and flows for sure.
Yeah, up and down, all the way through. Strike 1 to Lorenzo Carrier, who has reached base in all of his trips to the plate today. Went 3 for 3. He's going to leave California with a batting average over 500. Cowboys been hit the baseball. As that one foul down the right field line, I go right into the Stanford bullpen.
Yeah, we were joking about his creative player numbers, but he actually might be at this point, man.
I mean, hey, it will be the show 26 just came out. You got the early access edition, but game can be released to the world a couple days from now. They're gonna do a Lorenzo Carrier Road to the Show.
Oh,
how about that? So one other nugget about MLB The Show 26 this year with Road to the Show, Stanford is one of the featured schools in Road to the Show mode, with colleges being added in to the game now.
As it should be. We were talking about one of the oldest institutions in baseball. And I mean, that's the next step for him as a redshirt senior.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Carrier. Here's the pitch from Earthspan. That one is going to go foul again.
Stay frosty if you're the bullpen for Stanford. You're getting sent some missiles, man.
And nobody has moved at all, like that shade cover.
Yeah, they're chilling.
2 on the way again. So I'm going a little bit more into the seats.
I wonder if Lavin could be a little more comfortable in his stance as a catcher against, or with a taller hitter. Lavin's 6'4", Kerr 6'5", doesn't have to quite stay in that super low stance as he would with some of the shorter guys.
Big strike zone for sure. Moran can't play that off of the tough hop. Goes in the left field for what could be a hard hit single.
The perfection continues there for Kerr.
They give him now 4 hits on the game.
At the end of that play right there, Moran just had to smooth out some dirt. You saw where that ball hit and popped up.
As they're waiting to see if they're going to score a hit on the scoreboard here.
Could be an error?
Could be. You know, Moran did have a tough read on that ball. If it were to be an error, it would be the 4th error committed by the Cardinal infield today. There's Kyle Wagner coming up, looking at strike 1.
Yes, Palmer, through its innings pitch, gave up a hit there, but he has done some pretty good work as oh, I almost jinxed him.
Missed high, and almost behind the back of Wagner. So they do score that in the book as a hit for Lorenzo Carrier. So he's now 4 for 4 in the game today. He has just been annihilating baseballs. I mean, he's like a hitman for baseballs, the way he's been seeing it since the start of the season.
Weapon of choice, baseball bat.
Yeah, for strike 2 of the Wagner.
And for S-Bomber, he's got the raw stuff, man, and he's really, aside from that one pitch that went behind the back of the man at bat, he's been showing off what he's been able to do.
Try to come back with a strikeout pitch. There it comes. Lavin set up on the corner there, but couldn't frame it enough. Kenneth Fitz.
Fitz just has not really given those pitchers that outside corner today.
Wagner stays alive at 2-2 still.
Continuing to fight through it. First few at-bats, and now it's flew by, and now we're just back to the grid of things.
Farmer tried to go for a breaking ball, missed. Now the count goes full. See who wins the duel here between Wagner and Erzbomber.
So much experience on this lineup for Pitt, and so many freshman pitchers being sent out there for Stanford.
Ray Fenderson waiting on deck. Farmer's going to step off.
Cool little reset.
Missed high, and Wagner works the walk.
And just really fought through that one. And that is the continual patient approach. We've seen great contact being made on these balls, but more than anything, it has been the patience of Pitt being able to get into these situations with walks, and then at the end of the day, just an error on Stanford allowing things to keep flowing.
And you don't want to have these prolonged innings if you're a Stanford pitcher, because it at least allows Pitt to really start to get a flow of how you're bringing it. Breaking ball on the first pitch strike. Anderson 1 for 4 on the game.
on the ball there, but as a lefty pitcher with runners on first and second, Philip, how much does it really change things up because you just have such a better vantage point compared to a right-handed pitcher?
You know, it's just all about how you're seeing it out the hands. You know, right-handed pitcher, you kind of have like both the base runner behind you and as well as also just the release point having an effect. But the lefty out there, it makes it a little more easier. Of course, you want to have your eyes on where the ball is going to get released at all times, but it does a little bit of an imbalance on how you look at it. First Bearers 1-2. Almost ran in and hit Fenderson, but got out of the way of it.
Grasshopper, he's got some great work and he's got a good repertoire to work with. It's just consistency. It's going to be the main storyline coming into this appearance. A perfect balance of 11 walks and 11 strikeouts.
2-2 on the way. Just can't seem to find the zone right now. He's in another full count situation.
Just bending. Let's see who breaks first.
Now it comes another full count situation. The runners are going to be taken off with 2 gone. He'll step off.
Yeah, in this situation, there's no need to really rush things. You're ready.
And then the 9 1/3 innings pitch for Ersmammer. He has an opponent's batting average with runners on base at 190. So he's definitely good with getting out of jams.
That clinch sheet.
You call it that. Got to show it right here against Fenderson. Just waiting. He needs to go right. He calls for a new ball.
Whenever we're in some of these hot games, I always wonder how much fatigue has to play a factor with some of these umpires and officials because they're always decked out in that black, and I'm sure it just absorbs everything.
The off pitch coming. Missed blowing in. Fenderson will work the walk, so now the bases are loaded for the Panthers.
Really tough showing here from the freshman. Getting in some good spots, but as he continues to just fight. A couple full counts going the way of Pitt, and now bases loaded.
All right, gonna get a mound visit here. This could be it for Ersmammer. He's trying to buy some time for the pitcher throwing up down the right field line in the Cardinal bullpen. No signs yet of them making the call. This is just more of like a confidence booster with big hitter and Joey Barron coming up in a bases loaded situation with 2 out.
Sometimes I keep hitting this point, but it stands true time and time again with how young of a roster that Stanford has. It's not about talent, it's about consistency, and it's about really just getting yourself in the right mental space. So I think that's what the gauge we're getting for Stanford's going to be. It looks like they're going to keep him in.
Joey Barron, 1 for 4 in the game. Has a single to his total, but he has a chance to really give Pitt a big lead this late. This is where Mike Ersmammer really needs to lock in, get out of this jam. First pitch to Barron. Oh, and it goes past Lavin to the backstop, and that is going to allow Carrier to score on the wild pitch. Pitt now extending the lead, 9-5.
Worst possible situation here for your freshman. You finally get him cold, relax, an opportunity to just take a second with that mound visit, and the very first pitch goes that way.
Yeah, just not something that David Esco is hoping to see from the young arm. Runners now at second and third. 1-0 missed outside, ball 2.
One thing I will say about the matchup, we've seen scoring in almost every single different way this whole weekend. It's been long ball, it's been base to base, and now we're seeing some wild pitches.
There's Bombers. Goes miss, goes to 3-0. As Station to Station baseball has been the story of this weekend. See if Barron gets the green light to swing away at 3-0.
Patience is a virtue. It's got that patience. There's a strike, but feeling comfortable still in the situation.
3-1, missed outside, ball 4. That's the 3rd straight walk allowed by Earthslammer, and I think that's going to be it for him, as here's the 2nd mound visit of the inning.
Yeah, walking out. Coach is pointing at the bullpen, and you might see the hook.
Yeah, the pitching has just been off of Stanford's game, so Mike Earthslammer is having a rough outing here, so we're going to make another call to the bullpen. Stanford trying to get out of this inning. Again, the 2-out situations have not been easy to get out of. We're going to take a break, give you the rundown of the new arm coming in for the Card. Eddie Smink still in this game for the Panthers. He's been doing the long relief work in this one. Pitch, ball 1.
Fly out to right field. Last time we saw Suzaki in this situation. It's a close one, but I really love to see this power versus power matchup.
Big swing at that, popped it up. Will go out of play.
It's interesting to see all the fans are starting to shift over with the shade slightly coming on the right-hand side from some of these trees. Everybody's evacuated that area. The young kid's going to be able to get himself a souvenir. Oh, and he gives it to his little brother. How sweet.
The right thing to do. 1-1, bounced on the ground. Playing the shift there at short is Doolin. He'll get the out to first. I will say, for the Pitt pitching staff, they've been able to find ways to get Sasaki out in this game.
Yeah, especially after that little bit of a rough start where Sasaki just showed so much patience and then earned that walk, but a ground out in the 2nd, a fly out in the 5th. Now another ground out.
Kato Khan, fly ball to right field on the first pitch, and it's going to be a can of corn out there for Carrier.
Never heard that one. A can of corn? I like it.
Yeah, it's a common one. Common one. Baseball idiom. You learn, in years playing the game and just watching it, but yeah.
Did you ever play in your youth?
I did. All the way up to high school.
There you go. This man knows ball. I love that song.
Goes Charlie Bates, who's 0 for 3 on the afternoon. Oh, look at strike 1.
My favorite meme is, I always send this one out, it's the yearbook of the guy, you know ball.
It always also makes me curious to find out, where do these baseball phrases come from?
Yeah.
Commentators are so often to drop this here, but how does it start? I'm a person that likes to know origin stories. So, Bates sends it foul.
No, I agree. I love the lore. And honestly, in this day and age, we are so lucky to be able to just Google something. I'm old enough, I'm not that old, but I still remember before you could really get access to the internet on a regular basis. You gotta wait for dial-up and all that. You had to go to a thesaurus, or you had to go to an encyclopedia to try to learn things. Now, hey, Wikipedia, Google, even AI now. every single joint in my body creaked as I was saying that.
I was like, how must we be suffering the heat of this press box today?
Delirious. No, it's cooled down just a touch. The shade moving over to the right-hand side.
So is the sun. 2-2 pitch coming up from Smink. This is in for ball 3. I'll also say this, Max. You know, YouTube has been such a good source in me finding archive information, and I like to say that it's the closest thing we have to a real-life time machine.
Yeah.
As you would find just about anything from any year on YouTube in video form. A ground ball hit to Doolin. The play a little bit more steady with that one, but some routine play to retire the side. So 1-2-3. Go the Cardinal. Nothing doing in the bottom of the 7th. We'll go to the top of the 8th. Pitt coming back up to the plate. On top of the 8th, with Pitt still leading 9-5. And just to kind of recap of how this game has gone, it all started in the top of the 1st when Kyle Wagner delivered with the 2 RBI double to begin things. And then Stanford were able to swing back with a 2-run home run from J.J. Moran. He had a tie game at the end of the 1st. So high offense scoring, but then Pitt came back with a 4-run second inning, but Stanford followed up scoring 2 on the 2-run homer from Ethan Hott. They went a couple of innings scoreless, but Pitt able to add on to the lead, securing 2 runs in the top of the 5th. You had the RBI single coming from both Carter Deerdorf and one from Lorenzo Carrier. Stanford scored back in the 6th on an RBI single from Ethan Hott, as he has gone 3 for 3 on the game, but Pitt got some insurance in the top half of the 7th. It brings us to here now with Quentin Marsh now coming into the game in relief for the Cardinal, freshman from just down the road at San Jose, and also the brother of Tatum.
Good names, Quentin and Tatum.
Oh, he's going to see Carter Deerdorf. He'll look at ball 1.
That's how you know I'm getting old. I start thinking about names. I'm like, oh, that is a good name. It may be usable in the future.
Having kids soon, Max?
Oh, I am at that age, man. I don't believe it. I'm still 18 in my head, maybe 21 at the oldest. But I've hit that grand mark of 3-0 now.
Yeah, I think I'll hold off for a bit.
Yeah,
Get our sense of foul.
It's good.
And well, the Marsh brothers, they come out of Valley Christian High School. Very
Powerhouse, man.
powerhouse program in the South Bay when it comes to baseball. And you think about leagues like the WCAL, you know, definitely dominant with schools up and down the peninsula and even stretching down into the South Bay. And a few schools in the city, in San Francisco.
There's a lot of great baseball played across.
A 1-2 from Marsh.
And it's always great when you get just some of these local products able to stay home. It just means so much more. You know, these guys, like, I'm sure they went to San Jose State games as well, being out in San Jose. But, like, the closest Power 5 school, Power 4 now.
Swung on and missed, so Quentin Marsh ends the inning with the strikeout.
But yeah, the closest Power 4 school to you in this situation is Stanford. So taking trips out to the Sunken Diamond, enjoying some time in the sun, spending your weekends out here. I'm sure it feels so good to be right there and smack dab in the middle of it.
Absolutely, and even remember when I was here on Friday evening, had some little leaguers from the area come out to the game, and even had a chance to see a gentleman that I've worked very closely with in the past who has continued to keep youth baseball on this side of the Bay alive. David Klein, shout out to him. He is the lead man for Legends baseball and softball camps. You know, a lot of activity that they have in, you know, parts of San Mateo, Redwood City. You know, he was at the game yesterday with his family, so it was cool to see him pass by.
Yeah, those coaches are really just the heart and the backbone of all this. A lot of people really never truly understand the value of a coach until you've moved past them.
Strike three. Marsh delivers the breaking ball in. And Irizarry the backwards K. Quinn Marsh looking pretty good coming out of the bullpen so far. That Valley Christian pedigree coming on display.
Yeah, designated as a two-way player, just one of those guys that you can really slot him in any situation. As so many pitchers have been used this weekend by Stanford. Give him the opportunity here for the left-handed freshman. And the first two batters he's faced, he's shown the skill set and the capability.
And during Quinn Marsh's time at Valley Christian, he was a Max Prep second-team All-American. Also winning back-to-back Central Coast Section Player of the Year honors. Oh, definitely a decorated high school career that he's been able to transition over here to the college level. And you talk about just, you know, guys trying to stay within the area as far as recruiting goes, Max. You know, Stanford being such a nationally known program, and at this day and age of transfer portal, NIL, like how much of a bag are you going to give to me to come to my school? You know, it always feels refreshing to see the local kids still, you know, want to come to their hometown program. Now, once we get past Sasaki, he'll go in the right field. AJ Nessler reaches with his second single on the day.
Yes, you get 2 outs. You give up a single in that situation, but let it shake you. I always find it interesting with some of these hometown kids, when you're not a starter or in the rotation, when you're a reliever, what are the odds that your family's coming out to visit and get an opportunity to see you play?
That's the beauty of playing close to home. You know, and also, you have the time, you get to go home for a home-cooked meal, hopefully. Just getting going. Swings and misses at the first pitch from Marsh.
Yeah, for those folks out in Pittsburgh, San Jose only about 20 minutes south of Stanford here.
One hits it hard on the left side. Bates is on the dive on the backhand, but the throw is a little bit too late to the party to first.
And it's going to be a single into the books here.
And the hits have just been total enough for Pitt today. You know, at 16 to the total. Lorenzo Carrier coming up 4 for 4, trying to go for the 5-hit game here, staying perfect at the plate.
Yeah, this is the 41st at-bat for Pitt.
Yeah, they've been just running through the order here. So after today, Pitt are going to head back home to the Steel City to see Youngstown State in a midweek matchup on Wednesday.
A little bit of Panther Penguin action.
Weird that a team from Ohio has a mascot and a penguin.
Yeah, I always thought that as well.
Youngstown State is, I mean, where the school is located, you could throw a rock and you could throw it over the Pennsylvania border, how close they are to Pittsburgh.
Whenever I think of Youngstown State, I just think of Jim Tressler. Looks like we're getting an intentional walk here.
They missed outside there, so Carrier able to reach. That's now his 6th time reaching base in this game. Now the bases are loaded for Kai Wagner. So tough spot for Quentin Marsh. So the freshman just getting battle hardened here.
4 straight walks. Or 4 straight balls resulting in that walk, I should say.
Wagner lifts that ball 1. And for Stanford, after today, like they'll have some off time during the midweek, but they're going to come back with the home series against Utah Valley.
I think staying at home is going to give you an opportunity to kind of settle things. You've had sporadic play all across the board, and you've done it in very emphatic moments, and you've also had some plays like we've seen with the 3 errors today, which give you
swung on and missed by Wagner, goes to ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, just giving you an opportunity to kind of settle things and get a little past the hiccups that you've seen.
That series against Utah Valley will be a 4-game series as they're going to have a doubleheader against them on Sunday and then followed up with a Monday matchup. Marsh able to get Wagner chasing outside, so he's able to strike him out with the bases loaded, keep this a 4-run game. Stanford will come back up, going to the bottom of the 8th here at Sunken Diamond.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
As Moran, Nadai, and Gian do up for the Cardinal in the bottom of the 5th, as Eddie Smink still out on the rubber for the Panthers in this one, trying to go all the way with it today.
Yeah, 3 1/3 inning. He's only the second pitcher here for Pitt as we get to the bottom of the 8th. And this is a guy that was the CAA preseason pitcher of the year, and that was in his role as a starting pitcher. So he has the experience to go the long way. We've seen him with an average of about 4 innings pitched per his matchups last year.
Yeah, a starter mostly at Stony Brook, filling in well as a long reliever for Pittsburgh. AJ Moran looks at strike 1, and it's fascinating for how well Mike Bell's coaching staff has been in trying to acquire these players from the portal. On Friday, we saw David Leslie start on the mound for Pitt, and Leslie, he was at a D3 school just an hour north of Pitt at Grove City College, where he was an All-American there.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to just see all the baseball that takes place within that general area. And you get a strike there, and then just seeing the different types of ways that you're recruiting. Sometimes you're looking for a hot prospect. Sometimes you're looking for a guy that's really just looking to prove himself, that's shown that he's able to perform better than his Division II status.
That's for sure. Even guys like Lorenzo Carrier, who started out at Miami, is able to take a redshirt year and then come here to Pitt and just put up massive numbers, as we've seen from him all season. But you always kind of find those gems in the portal, and even when you look at smaller school, I shouldn't really say smaller schools, but JJ Moran hits on the left side, diving stop there at third, but on the backhand first, not able to scoop it out the dirt as Deerdorf. Moran able to get on.
Good way to start here.
Now Stanford able to get their first base runner since the bottom of the 6th, as Ethan Hott was the last Cardinal to reach base. But going back to that thought there, last week, we saw Nevada come through to the farm, and Nevada is a team that really relied on getting players from the JUCO side of the transfer portal. And even though there's a bit of a system happening right now in college baseball, or really in college sports in general, where the first pick or first priority would be, transfer acquisition from a Power 4 school. Then if you can't get that guy, the next one down is, hey, let me look at the JUCO landscape, see who's out there. And then if you can't find a name in the JUCO landscape, next one down is high school. So sometimes, when you think about it, the high school aspect of recruitment has kind of been beginning to dwindle a little bit, just knowing, depending on the program, of course, how much are they going to prioritize a transfer portal acquisition.
Yeah, and I think it really just comes down to the money. At the end of the day, you need that capital to be able to go out there and get those transfer portal guys. So it's just an interesting way to build it out. And even when you look at teams like Stanford, just with the academic standards, and they do not throttle them whatsoever for their athletes that they send out there, it's really interesting just to see how much talent you see time and time again.
I was laid off. Now goes a 1-2 on Jimmy Nadai.
And it's really every sport. I believe the statistic Jordan Watkins gave me yesterday when we were on men's volleyball was that one in every 6 people on the farm are athletes.
Rolls over that one is short. Oh, and it's off of the glove and bobbled in the left field. That's going to allow Moran to move to third. Nadai moves to second on that play there. Man, just defensive mishap there by Caden Doolin over there at shortstop.
So we saw runs being scored and brought through off errors from Stanford. Now we're seeing the cookie start to crumble for the Pittsburgh Panthers, and down but never out has truly been the theme of both teams this entire weekend.
So that opens up the door for Eric Gian, who's 0 for 3 on the day, has flown out 3 times in this game. One of those fouls being to right field, the others 2 being to left.
So I know that solo shot home run at the top of the 9th must have felt so good for Eric Gian. But you know what makes it even better? Runners on base.
For sure.
Oh, really reaching for that one.
Tried to go after the first pitch there. And, just to kind of go back on the topic of recruitment, in these, it seems like there's times where even there's some pitchers that would be willing to sacrifice being at a good school to be somewhere at a Power 4. Like, one story that always fascinated me, as Jan bounces it to third, Wagner takes a look, but he'll go to first for the easy out there.
Really good survey and read there. Just being able to understand the timing of the situation, make that read on third, and then eventually work your way. It's like a quarterback going through progressions, understanding situational baseball in a sense.
Yeah. And as Luke Lavin comes to the plate to finish my thought, there was a hard-throwing right-hander that was pitching at MIT, and the thing about this player in particular is that he was wanting to give up his last year at MIT to go pitch at Tennessee, of how much of a makeup he had. Again, this is a guy that threw in the high 90s. And even though, like, if you're somebody that tops out 96 on the mound, like in the conference that MIT plays at, of course, MIT being one of the most highly academic universities in the world, that one is rolled in front of the plate. They're going to go home with it. Smick able to get there in time as Moran is out on the tag.
Yeah, real nice heads-up play by the senior on the mound right there. Just getting the underhand shuffle. A little bigger body build, so he had to really charge forward with that one. Was able to keep the score off the plate.
They might be going to a replay here. It's umpires can join. And they might be trying to check to see if that was maybe a foul ball. Yeah, it didn't come off the bat that much by Lavin. Actually going to challenge the play at home. Maybe it might have came on the play at home. And Bisakrita tried to put the tag on Moran, but just talking about the MIT pitcher, Mason Estrada, he was about to give up his last year at MIT to go pitch at Tennessee through the portal. Again, NIL money coming into play, having a chance to play in the SEC, which is like the major league equivalent in Major League Baseball. Again, this is a guarantee that they're going to see at least, probably 20 to 30% of the first round of MLB draft of a guy coming from an SEC school. But here's the one kicker, though. Before he officially decided to, follow through with his commitment to transfer to Tennessee, he got drafted in the 7th round by the LA Dodgers. Guess what he decided to do?
Going majors?
Take the money that the Dodgers were giving him through the draft. So it goes back to how the system works. If there's a guy in the portal that is a surefire draft pick and he takes the money to go pro, then that means you have to go the next one down, which is either, hey, get a guy from another small school, or have to look at the JUCO landscape. And I've been around enough to see JUCO talent and see guys that, should have had an opportunity to get, picked by a D1 school. But hey, that's just how it is now.
Yeah, that's how it is now, but at the same time with technology, you have the opportunity to really just get yourself known out there. You don't necessarily have to be at one specific spot to be able to get your tape out and just have those weird connections with coaches that no other coaches. You have the media and social media to be able to push your profile. So in that regard, it is tougher, but in another way, it also just gives you, like, you don't have to be at all these big time schools to try to get into the situation. You can try to recruit yourself. If you have tape, you have a chance at least.
Umpires come back to the field as we're going to get the ruling on what the play call at home is.
Stanford 0 for 2 in challenges. They're out of it now.
Yeah, so they say that Moran was tagged out home on the play there. So there's 2 gone, but still runners at the corners for the Cardinal. Now it's going to be up to Ethan Hott.
Honestly, the 2 success stories today have been Carrier as well as Hott. They have been the hot hands.
Ethan Hott trying to keep that back going. He's 3 for 3 at the plate with a 2-run home run, a double, and an RBI single. He has Natai at third, Lavin at first.
You know what he needs, right?
Yeah, I know what he needs. Like,
knocking out some wood. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to knock on some wood.
He's going to need to send one in the alley to get it. Eddie Smink, and a tough jam here. Oh, that one is sent to right field. Is going to get up there in the shade, and Carrier able to play it back and get the wall of love tap to make the catch to end the inning. Oh, Ethan Hott had a shot to get something going there for Stanford, but we're going to go to the 9th inning. Stanford have to keep this game where it is. So we made it to the 9th inning, folks, with the Panthers up 9-5, trying to go for the series win against Stanford. And this is the ending of their first weekend series in ACC play. So the score does hold. They would go to 2-1 and 14-4 overall. They're going to try to see about getting some insurance to add on to this 4-run lead. We're now on the top of the 9th. Trey Fenderson will lead off to see Quentin Marsh.
Quentin Marsh put into a little bit of a tough spot after getting the first couple of outs.
A fly ball down the right field line. Kettleson trying to chase it down, but runs out of room.
Yeah, he got a couple of the outs to start it off, got to a hot start, and all of a sudden, things started to get precarious. Bases became bloated, and then was able to get out of that log jam. So the young freshman has seen his ups and downs, but no damage done up to this point.
We're talking a lot about, the portal and recruitment, but, left out one thing when it came to the high school side. Say if you're a school that has had tabs on recruiting a kid coming out of high school, but again, a sport like baseball, you could go from high school to the pros right out. Yeah, you have to start in the minors, but at least you're getting an opportunity to start early in your professional baseball journey.
The most interesting thing about that whole entire draft situation, it's just like when you get guys like, for example, the A's drafted Kyler Murray, and then of course the talk of the town was, oh, they got released. Does he go and play baseball? I always think it's pretty interesting to see other athletes that are like, hey, let's take a flyer out and see.
2-2 bounced foul.
And that kind of tying back into what this matchup is going on right here. Like Sasaki, for example, got drafted in the first round in the Japan Baseball League draft and decided to do something that really we've never seen.
Yeah, very unprecedented because, again, and even, there's not a whole lot of foreign players coming to play college. And, and talk about this before the game, Max, going down to Florida a few weeks ago to be at the Andre Dawson Classic, I had a chance to cover schools where they were getting kids from big-time baseball countries. I saw kids from the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Colombia. Fenderson shoots that to center field, and coming in on the run, making the catch, is Ethan Hott. There's one gone.
Yeah, Hott has been talk of the Cardinal up in this matchup. He got his first unsuccessful at-bat the last time we saw him, but what he's been able to do in center field and at the plate, he's easily becoming a staple here.
And also, as I mentioned, seeing, just a variety of different players You know, and just even the game experience too. Like I don't think I've ever been in a college baseball setting where you heard players chanting in Spanish from the dugouts. I mean, that just shows how crazy it was to experience that. But it goes to the segue where, you know, there's major league clubs that are signing these kids from these countries when they're like 14, 15, 16 years old. I saw something crazy the other day, as Barron sends that one foul. I saw something crazy the other day that the Phillies signed an 11-year-old kid from, I think he was from Venezuela, if I'm correct. A kid that's supposed to be graduating in 2031 or something. Like,
These numbers don't exist. That year is.
But I mean, you also think too of how much the game is going internationally. The ground ball to first, Sasaki steps on the bag 2 away.
But, I mean, yeah, the thing about it is, as sports kind of become more expensive, you're seeing it in basketball, you've always seen it in hockey, golf, for example, is just, you need a lot of equipment to play it. Baseball is truly that purest sport where all you need is a stick and a rock, stick and a ball, whatever it is. So that globalized aspect of it is always there because it's just such a low barrier of entry.
And, you know, for the kids that are listening in, you know, again, if you're trying to have a career in baseball, you're not just competing with the kids here in the U.S., you're competing with the world now. I mean, the World Baseball Classic has shown us just that, of how much the world has caught up to America's pastime.
I mean, to be fair, some of my favorite baseball I've ever watched in my life has taken place in Japan. I'm going out to Korea, I'm excited to see what they do, but just the culture that they bring. So that you take what we've seen time and time again here, and then you extend it beyond those cultures. Like, my favorite thing in the world is bands in sports, and I think that's just one of the things that makes college football so special. They almost take that aspect with the chanting sections where you have just such a respectful approach from both fans. You're not saying anything when the action is going on. And then when your guy is up, you have individual chants for every single guy. And then you see some guys that have been out of the major leagues in baseball, and they go to Japan, and they just have all this love and endearment for them, giving them individual chants. They're chanting in English for these guys that speak English.
3-1 to Pisacreta. He'll shoot it in the left field for a 2-out single, so the train keeps moving.
And I think that globalization of the game it's going to be so fun when we kind of just meld together and become that melting pot that eventually occurs when you get just like chanting sections out here. Like the top team in Japan baseball came out to play here at Stanford, and I'm sure they're
Waseda.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk, Waseda making the trip here to play both Santa Clara and Stanford, and you know, Stanford being like one of the top universities in the world academically when you look at it, you know, you still think like, hey, everybody knows about Stanford. Yeah. I mean, that should expand the recruiting pool or portal like later down the line.
Well, one thing that does hurt though is you need that GPA.
For sure. Carter Deerdorf, 2 for 5 on the game. Oh, look at strike 1.
Yeah, quietly putting together quite a performance for Quentin Marsh here.
Yeah, Marsh has been looking pretty good in this outing in relief. It's late in the game, but should be a sign for what David Esker wants to do with the young lefty freshman.
Yeah, the thing that impresses me, going back to some of these high school guys, a lot of young, talented players on this Stanford roster, is just the accolades they are able to do at top of the grades.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance for sure. And I think about like a kid from the international pool having to come to the States to get an education and have the opportunity to play baseball, whether that's on scholarship or a good financial aid package, just knowing, you know, scholarships are limited in baseball now, but thankfully for NIL, there's, some of it to cover it. But, you know, it's now become a juggling act and more responsibility that they probably have never really expected. Deerdorf, you know, working the 2-out walk.
Yeah, and there's a reason why you're seeing all these programs starting to get general managers, really. Like, you're seeing a lot in football right now, but it's going all the way down to the JUCO level. I saw both Diablo Valley College now has a general manager. Laney College out there in Oakland has a general manager. It's just the trend of what's going on, and it creates more opportunities for other folks to build their name as well.
You bring up general manager as Mike Bell is going to bring on a pinch hitter here. It's going to be Jackson Cook coming in to hit in the spot for Julian Irizarry. Pitt has been able to add on to their staff as far as major league experience. Devin Mesoraco, along with like catcher in the majors for quite a few years. He was an all-star with the Cincinnati Reds. He's been brought on to be the director of baseball ops and general manager for the Pitt baseball program for the past 6 seasons.
Yeah, that's just what you have to do now. If you want to stay competitive, you got to go ahead and stick with the trends, and that is what everything is trending to. You're building these rosters almost like as if, hey, not everybody has the same playing field in terms of the budget that they can play with, but this is your salary and this is what you have to work with. Go ahead and try to build us the strongest roster as you can.
Big swing and a miss there by Jackson Cook.
For Jackson Cook, got action in that game last night with 2 at-bats. Was very productive with his at-bats, was able to get an RBI as well as earn 2 walks.
Now look at ball 3 from Marsh. And also, Johnny Giovitella is another former major leaguer. He's now the GM down at University of New Orleans. And, it just gives not only opportunities for former major leaguers to have something to do after retirement, but also have involvement in like the college game. Because, we see the GM landscape being common in like college, I'll say even right here in our backyard, Stanford, Andrew Luck,
yep,
coming back to, general manage the football program, or even you think about the college basketball landscape. Bay Area sports fans, obviously familiar with Stephen Curry, going to be the GM, director of basketball operations at his alma mater, Davidson.
Yeah.
Or even Trey Young doing it at Oklahoma, where he played. So, you're seeing that be common, for sure.
Yeah, it's always interesting seeing these active athletes going ahead and doing as well. I mean, football front Max Crosby as the general manager of Eastern Michigan. Shaquille O'Neal up north about an hour and a half at Sacramento.
Yeah, Sacramento State is coming in the pinch run after Jackson Cook worked the walk. It's going to be Derek Tarpley Jr. Bases loaded now for the Panthers here in the 9th inning. A.J. Nessler, he'll take ball 1 high and in. So Quentin March staying in there. No arm is getting loose in the bullpen for the Cardinal. Oh, that one gets way away from Marsh. That one is going to allow us to create a score on the wild pitch. So Pitt just continuing to run up the score here. He's trying to in the 9th inning. Now a 10-5 game. I think that's going to be it for Marsh.
Yeah, second score we've seen on a wild pitch as well. Last time we saw that score was in the 7th, so tough.
Yeah, pitching just kind of gone out the window here today for a Cardinal.
Yeah, this weekend in full, really.
And so Marsh is going to lead the game, and it's going to bring out a new arm for Stanford. It's going to be Liam Golden. As we'll give you the rundown of Golden, we'll take a break here from Sunken Diamond. So here late in the 9th inning, 10-5 game now for Pitt. There's going to be Liam Golden coming out of the pen here. Sophomore from Sacktown. Went to Christian Brothers High School. We're going to see how the 6'5" right-hander is going to favor against the top of the Pitt order as he comes in actually with a 2-0 count with A.J. Nessler still at the plate, runners at second and third. Fastball getting up to 94, missed away, so now count goes to 3-0.
Golden, one of those another young guys that you're just continually trying to develop, has that big frame.
Again there with the strike. So we're about to make the move to first.
Pitt is back at the spot in the order.
There's ball 4 as Nessler will take the open base at first, so bases are loaded once again.
Yeah, but as Pitt gets to the spot in the order, this will be the 45th batter face.
Yeah, a lot of trips have been taken for the Panthers hitters today, and most guys, they've made up to 6 at-bats in this one. Dolan fouling it right off the plate there. This being his 6th at-bat of the game. Or, as a matter of fact, this is going to be his 6th at-bat, but 7th plate appearance.
Got it. Just took a second. I did not think we'd see more at-bats than we did yesterday, but
a total of 27 hits have been accumulated between Pitt and Stanford on this Sunday afternoon.
That's your philosophy coming in bases loaded, man. Such a hard spot to be in.
Here's the 1-1. That one's popped up on the right side. Sasaki all by himself with it, and he will make the catch in the inning. So all the traffic that Pitt had on the base paths there, only one run comes across as they're going to go to the bottom of the 9th. So it's the last chance now for the Cardinals to try to make a comeback. We're going to bring it here for you. We close it out here at Sunken Diamond here on the ACC Network Extra. Here we are in the 9th inning, folks. Bottom of the 9th as Stanford coming up with their last hope. They're going to need 5 to tie and 6 to win. It's going to be Kettleson, Sasaki, and Tokheim due up. Actually, scratch that. It won't be Kettleson to lead off. Coming in a pinch hit for him will be Court McDonald.
Kettleson was due up, and they made the swap there.
And so McDonald coming off the Charger to pinch hit. Eddie Smink still in the game to get the last 3 outs for Pitt.
Well, McDonald, he's been in and out of the starting lineup early. Now he's got an opportunity to try to set the tone.
Fouls off the pitch there, goes to 1-1.
McDonald's really been a utility player throughout his time here on the farm. Versatility and his at-bat quality, part of the reason by trusting in the situation, he lead off bottom of the 9th.
Donald on it there, but sent it way foul just to the right of the Stanford dugout. The count is now at 1 ball and 2 strikes. This has been a pretty good outing for Smink in this one. This was after Drew Lafferty got the start today. He has gone 4 1/3, only allowing 1 run.
That feels like a whole world ago.
Crazy thing is, he's seen 18 batters, no strikeouts and no walks.
That's that starting pedigree in his back pocket that he can lean in though.
Here's the 1-2. That one is hitting the right, and it's going to fall in for a base hit. Court McDonald, fresh legs into the game, able to lead off the palm of the knife with a single.
And that one looked like a golf swing.
Oh, yeah.
Going up there, getting his wedge, flying right in front of the man out there in right field. And now, this is who you want with a runner on base.
Also, another thing to note, too, there have been some defensive changes in the field for Pitt as A.J. Nessler goes to left field. Derek Tarpley now playing in center. Here's Rentaro Sasaki. He'll look at ball one.
Lorenzo Carragher still staying put out there in the shade. I'm sure he's very happy to be covered up.
I had to play back on purpose just to stay out the sunlight all day today.
He's got the gift to be able to cover enough ground.
That's just a little out. 2-0 for Rentaro.
And Rentaro came off hot, did a really good job with the walk in the first. And then just a couple ground outs and a fly out since.
Strike one.
Rentaro just high, proper stance, waiting to uncork and explode.
Took a big swing there, but it goes foul. Got the Stanford fans still hanging around who would love to see some comeback magic from the Cardinal, as they showed a little bit of that yesterday, but just came up a run short.
Sasaki's in that bad stance is almost like a metronome.
So balanced, focused. 2-2, skied out in the right center, coming in on it, calling off Carrier. Or excuse me, calling off Tarpley as Carrier. He'll make the catch. There's one gone.
Told you he had the range to be able to cover anything, so that's why he can hang out in the shade.
Yeah. Teddy Telkheim, he'll have a chance here. He's 1 for 4 at that single all the way in the first inning.
And he was the story coming into this matchup with then total bases racked up. This would be the time to do it.
Got a first pitch strike. And Smink able to give that Panthers bullpen a rest today. They've had to go through a lot of pitchers this weekend. Oh, Telkheim chasing the high heat. Swings and misses, a strike 2.
4 2/3. Up to 69 pitches now. It's really been a delightful treat for Pitt.
There's almost kind of been a start for him. He's probably going to be in line for the win.
You know, coming to be a reliever and end up still in that pseudo starting spot.
That was a 2-2.
As we were pulling up information about him earlier, it's always funny to see guys clean shaven on their media day and now coming out just with a thick old beard.
Kind of like you, Max.
Ah, man. Worked hard for this.
A high chopper to short. Could be a double play attempt to end the game. Oh, and putting the tag there at first is Deerdorf, as he is going to get Telkheim to wrap things up for the Pitt Panthers. Oh, the ball game ends as Pitt wrap up the West Coast trip, taking a 2-1 weekend series win to open up ACC play, as they now go to 14-4 on the year. Stanford drops another weekend series, this time it being right here at home, as the Cardinal fall to 7-12 and now 1-5 in ACC play here in 2026.
He fought hard all weekend long, and now it is just a matter of going back, learning from your mistakes, and continue to move forward. We all know the academic prowess of every single athlete here, and now it's just a matter of not thinking of it as a mistakes, but thinking of it as lessons.
Yeah, well, this being the first ever series that these now two ACC opponents have seen each other, and good touch here. You got the Pitt players and the Stanford players lining up, kind of like Little League style, giving them, some adapts and some congratulations on good sportsmanship. So, Pitt able to take the first ever all-time series matchup against a West Coast foe that they are going to see down the line in the near future. But, we have to give credit to where credit's due. The Pittsburgh Panthers showcased some dominant performances at the plate all weekend long, and it just goes to show why they have one of the best offenses in the country right now.
Yeah, offense was on display on both sides. Stanford was able to keep all alongside with them by the top 10 offense, and they put on some fireworks here at the Sunken Diamond.
Yeah, definitely some pretty good standouts that we had a chance to see this weekend, especially with Lorenzo Carrier leading the charge. And, if you were to give a Player of the Game award to anybody, Carrier's the man. But for Stanford, they're going to have to look ahead, and they're going to be taking a short break from ACC play, as following the off time that they have during the midweek. They're going to come back here to Sunken Diamond to see Utah Valley for a 4-game set here on the farm. As that's going to wrap things up for us here to close out this Sunday afternoon of college baseball here on the ACC Network Extra. And final line score goes like this, with Pitt taking the series 2-1. Eddie Smeek picks up his first win of the year, as they are able to put up 10 runs on 17 hits with 1 error. Stanford 5 runs on 11 hits and 3 errors. Pitt left 19 on base. Stanford leaving 6 men on base. That's going to wrap up our Sunday here at Sunken Diamond. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and ask that you come back, as we'll be back here to open up the Utah Valley Series alongside my partner, Max Agrest. Thank you to our production staff here inside of the Sunken Diamond press box. This is Philip Hall on the call saying so long, and enjoy the rest of your day from the farm.